After extensive research on Initial D's game mechanics, here is what we found. Turning the wheel is crucial to drifting and steering. It seems that steering is based not just on how much the wheel moves, but how fast you move the wheel. I found about 3 games in that you had to really turn the wheel fast. Oh shoot, I see. You have to really throw the wheel to drift. That's wild, bro. That's wild. That's wild. Of course, you can or cannot use the brake to make your drift a bit more immediate, but the slower you turn the wheel, the slower the car would turn. So this means in order to really drift and get the back end of your car to swing out, you need to turn in hard and fast. Now, design-wise, it's pretty interesting because when you turn the wheel really hard and fast, the car responds accordingly and pitches itself hard and fast into the turn, which is where the game mechanics get a little bit deeper. The point in which the car starts to break traction instantly speeds up the steering and turning to the point of being out of control. So as the player, you now have to balance risk and reward by throwing the car out of control and hurling it down the mountain, and then gaining and maintaining control so that you can also drift the turn effectively. It's like you have to fully commit getting that car sideways hard and fast as possible, like you're really throwing the full weight of the car around in order to get the most out of the drifting, which is pretty realistic in its own way. A lot of drifting and racing in general is about shifting the weight of the vehicle, and they seem to abstract that mechanic really well to get the feel of it down more so than the physics. They even made interesting choices with their field of view, limiting how far you can see on your side peripherals, which adds to the feeling of being out of control because the camera rotates with you when you drift, making it feel like you're being whipped around with it. And if you're really pushing your drifting angle, you're going to see a lot more of that wall than the road. You can still see ahead of you, but it definitely narrows down quite a bit. All of these factors contribute to the feeling of being out of control, especially with the narrowness and the claustrophobic feeling the sides of the road give. It really drives home the fact that this is really dangerous. This is conveyed not just from you being in a speeding death trap that's ice skating down a mountain road, but from a gameplay perspective, it drives us home by making it really scary to drift as efficiently as you need to because you don't want to be out of control.
I guess so. Oh, hey. Oh, why are you picking these crazy roads? I guess, man, jeez.
And the icing on this racing cake is definitely the boost you get from drifting. When drifting, it depends on how much your car is swinging out and angled in that drift. So the more angle you have to your car, the more speed you get. So not only are all of these other factors lending themselves to the out of control feeling, the game now gives you a reward for being out of control in the form of a speed boost. The boost is implemented mid-drift, so as you start drifting, you get this speed boost, but it only visually adds up on the speedometer, the counter that shows you your miles per hour. It only gives you that speed value after you finish drifting. This makes sense because it wouldn't make sense for you to be speeding up while drifting in real life because drifting is slower than going straight. But the developers want to reward that behavior. So it becomes essential to drift and hurl your car as much as possible if you want to win. But they also keep this guarded by a skill gap. So if you want to go fast, you have to risk giving up your control. Now, a seasoned veteran of the game that I am not will have developed a balance of throwing the car sideways and managing the threshold of the turn and the speed boost. How much you improve in the game definitely depends on mastering these elements, along with timing the brake pedal properly in conjunction with throwing and turning the steering wheel. A good strategy is going to the far outside of turns and then diving in for your drift. This gives you a bit more room and space between you and the wall so you can get the most out of your drift angle and speed boost. There's also a negative to this speed boost. Since the developers want you to be right on the edge of being in control and out of control, you have to commit to your drifts and throw throwing the car, like I said earlier. So this is where they add another skill gap. You get an increased speed boost based on the angle of your drift. So if you're drifting at a lower angle, you get a lower speed boost, and at a higher angle, a higher speed boost. But if your drift doesn't go past a certain angle, or if it's prematurely canceled or not held long enough, the player receives a negative boost to their speed. So basically, if you drift at an incorrect time, a time where you didn't want to drift or where a drift was unnecessary, which is geniusly balanced design, to be honest. And of course, if you hit the guardrails, your speed drops a good 10 miles per hour, but luckily you get a grace period. So if you hit a wall shortly after you've already hit one, your speed drops a few more miles per hour and then stops until you've successfully finished banging your car into the walls. There's more I can get into, but this is pretty much the core that we extracted from the game. Let me know in the comments if you guys like stuff like this and want to see more.
I see what you're saying. We should probably have something like that. You get a boost.
You get a boost pass, so
That little, yeah, because even there, and it boosts you forward. So after you get out of like a battle, pretty much, they boost you.
yeah, that's